are three moments within Macbeth where Shakespeare sort of indirectly references the essential question. Um, and the first part is at the very beginning with the three witches telling Macbeth and Banquo about the prophecy. They said, "All hail Macbeth, hail to he, Thane of Cawdor." And they also said, "All hail Macbeth, that shalt be king, he there hereafter." This sort of sets everything in motion because it's sort of like the driving factor for everything Macbeth has done. Because without that prophecy, he wouldn't have an extensive desire to be king. He wouldn't think that it's his destiny and use that as a reason for all the bad things he's done. And then in the middle, I guess the second part, which is in the middle, where Macbeth is starting to feel guilty about the things he has done, where he's sort of questioning it, but he's still doing bad things as well. He sees Banquo's ghost in his head, and he says, "The table's full, fist and here. I saw him," which is sort of showing the overweighing guilt of everything he has done. And then the final part is where Macduff and Malcolm were in a forest talking about what Macbeth did to Macduff's family. And Malcolm says, "Dispute it like a man." And Macduff responds with, "I shall do so," which means that he is willing to take revenge. And he is willing to pay back Macbeth for all the things he did to him. And that is Macbeth.
What seems to motivate change in Persepolis are feelings of sadness and anger. For example, after Marjane's uncle dies, she seems lost in sadness and angry at the world, even kicking God himself out of her life, screaming, "You get out of my life," on page 70. As for the topic of determining whether a cause is worth fighting for, it really depends on your perspective and the circumstances at the moment. This being displayed on page 76 when Marjane and her parents must flee a demonstration when things get out of hand. Suddenly things got nasty. I saw violence with my own eyes.
Guilt versus shame. This article explains that guilt motivates change. Guilt and shame can make a person feel bad and motivate that person to fix the situation and feel better. A sort of A challenge to motivating change is when it comes to guilt and shame is self-consciousness. When a person feels shame, they are embarrassed about who they are, and when a person feels guilt, they are embarrassed about what they did. When people feel shame or guilt, if they can forgive themselves, then they can repair those feelings and the damage that led to those feelings. The first part was on the packet page 40, and then the second part I referenced was on page 42. That is guilt versus shame.
The real-life example I chose was Landslide, which was made by the Dixie Chicks. This answers the essential question because the protagonist of the song wonders if she can handle all the changes in her life. A challenge of this is that she built her life all around one person. As she sings, "Well, I've been afraid of changing because I built my life around you." However, she then learns that all of that can change in an instant or gradually if she just gives it a chance, because she's getting older. This is proven as she sings, "But time makes you bolder. Even children get older, and I'm getting older too." In conclusion, this is how Landslide answers the essential question.
What motivates change? To answer that, one common thing that all the texts and stuff sort of share is that the thing that motivates change is what happens to a person, to be fair. Like, emotions like guilt, sadness, desperation, happiness, things like that can motivate change. Examples are like protests, people overthrowing kings. I mean, the American Revolution is a sort of example for change that happened. It was motivated by the unfairness that the king was, how unfair the king was being towards the colonies. And now for the second part of the question. How can we determine when a cause is worth fighting for? Well, I would say that how we can determine is based off of our morals and our judgment. An example is Macbeth. While he was doing really, really bad things, he believed that he was doing it for the greater good, or he was doing something that was supposed to happen, that it was for the future, that it was gonna happen, that he had to be king because that was what he was told by the witches in the prophecy. And the protesters in Persepolis, they're doing it because they want to overthrow the dictator in that country because they won't believe it's the best thing to do. And that is pretty much the essential questions. That is it.